All right, here's round two. It was a game I played with a guy named Scott. Nice guy, probably similarly rated player on chess.com. And I was black. Played a Dutch defense, except I shouldn't play the Dutch defense, and he definitely was winning, but it kind of worked out. So we get this kind of asymmetrical looking weird thing where if it's like this, it's almost symmetrical on an asymmetrical level. We both have that great bishop, which is just threatening the tension there. Let me turn off the feedback because it's helpful. So this was a good because basically at this point he's clearly winning. It's 0.6 and it's move 8, so that's not great. Can't move this pawn because it gets taken, so I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can't do anything. So I just moved a king. And he did this bishop move, and I don't know, I talked to him after the game and he was like, I don't really know why I did this. I thought maybe it would just eventually put more pressure on and probably open up some stuff for me, because he was just like, take it. And we got to this position, and the engine has a better way to do this where it's slightly okay for me, but it's winning for him regardless. So this is where, yeah, more trades just keep happening. I took a long time to think at this point because there were just so many complexities with like, do I move the rook back here to start threatening these pawns, but actually only this pawn's threatened? Do I move it back here? Because I can't stay right here because he got the check right there. But I was like, what if he goes here and then he goes here? Like I have to take, and then he's threatening me and I can't move this out of the way because there's like all this forks. And I spent a long time thinking about it, and I was like, can I do this first, or do I have to move my king? Engine says move the rook, but I moved the king because I was just scared. And I was like, this is awful. So I did that so that if he takes, I can exchange back. And if he does this, it's just enough time for me to do that. And it's not great. He's winning. But took first, then I played the bishop. And here was a great part of the game where I think I started really realizing I was in trouble. Because this knight is going to come in. It's going to come in eventually. Or he's going to be able to just maneuver it around. And I'm like, this pawn is a little starting to be suspicious. He has a little too many checks for my comfort that I started to get really worried. And so I thought, okay, this bishop is great. I really should keep this because of how open the dark squares are. But I panicked and I took. And moved over here because I was just like, okay, I can't let him check me, and I can't let him get too close in here. I need to be able to, if he moves his rook over here, put my rook so he doesn't win this pawn. Now, even if he wins this pawn, that's fine. This pawn's going to be a lot more important than this side pawn just because I wasn't too worried about his c-pawns. So he does this. I did a waiting move because I was just like, I need him to move because I can't move anywhere. Like if I move this knight away, this gets taken. If I move the rook away, this gets taken. If I move my king away, he's going to go here unstoppably. And there was just too many places where I was just like, I can't do a darn thing, so I need to just wait. He did this, which I'm really glad to see, because if he had done h3 and I do h5, he has h4, putting the onus back on me. So it allowed me to put the move right back on his turn. This was his plan all along, to kind of recapture the central pieces. And I looked, I was happy to see this because I saw a way I could unravel, which was takes, and then I saw this move, which is the best move in the position. And it either forces him to do two things. Either forces him to go back here and defend everything, in which case I can finally untangle my pieces a little bit. I can push this pawn up because my knight's not there, and this pawn's not under attack anymore, so I can move my rook over here if I wanted to because this pawn's not under threat. Now, one thing I was looking at for a long time was this. And this is just straight up equal. And I was kind of hoping for this because I was just like, all right, well, he's got two pawns over here, but I've got three over here, but they both kind of suck. But maybe I'm going to be able to hold on, and maybe it'll just come to a draw, and the engine agrees as much. So he didn't do that. He did objectively a worse move, which we both realized after the game, is he traded off his rooks. So here I was worried about this pawn, so I can't just start going on an attacking spree because it's with check. I move up, he takes over here, and like, yes, I get to take over here, but this pawn seems a little more unopposed, and the engine still says it's equal to perfect play, but obviously we wouldn't have played perfectly. So I waited the move because I didn't want him to be able to do this on the next move and attack this pawn, so I just said, screw it. I did that. Move his king up. Then I attacked. I looked a long time at these two moves. There's no difference. And we both just went crazy taking. This was an interesting move because obviously you can't take. If you push forward here, I move the pawn. So he went down here to threaten this pawn, and I just said, nah, screw it. Now, I took a billion years. I used most of my remaining time, probably like 15 minutes. I got down to like 6 minutes here because there was a really interesting sequence I looked at that played out literally exactly as I wanted to. It's not winning, but he made the fatal mistake, which starts with bam, he checks, he takes. He's threatening this pawn. And this is where it gets really interesting. And what he needed to do, which is a move that I would never have thought of, he needs to move his king back here if he wants to maintain equality. Because for various reasons, he walks into like an unstoppable, amazing sequence of events that can't be stopped. Starts with here. E5 check. Can't take the pawn. Oh, you can't take this because this promotes. So you can't do that. And you take this pawn, you're going to run into a different problem, which is e takes f4, you go here, I go here, you go here, I go here. This is a little suspicious. And that's still equal. The move it needs you to make right here is f3, pushes away, take, and now basically you got the two pawns. And this could still be a draw if I make some dumb moves, but basically move here, and then I win the game. So that's why you can't take this pawn instead. But he took this pawn, and it allows me to do the sickest move in the game, which is sacrifice. So I sacrifice this pawn, basically, by letting him be able to take it. And I sacrifice this pawn. And now I sacrifice the g5 pawn. And this is where it gets just super excited. My heartbeat was beating out of my chest because it is just fast enough to promote. Now what's funny here is I actually blundered. What I need to do is c3 first to get his king further away. Because ironically, this move still draws in just like this crazy sequence of events. But it works. So you need to do e6 check here, and then this, but it's a whole complicated thing. He didn't see it. And check here first. You'd think it'd be fast enough, but crazily enough, I get my king in front of the pawn, and it's all over. So that was a sick game. I definitely should have lost. There was a point right here where it was just so bad. Like, I definitely should have lost the game because I just, like, this is just terrible. I can't do a darn thing. But thankfully he let me get out of it, and then I won the game.